So if you've been watching my videos on This Week in Security, my security news series, a lot of buzzwords get thrown around, and I think that a lot of people, they don't really understand what's actually happening when these things are said. And the buzzword that I wanted to break down in today's video is hacked, right? That could mean many things. And, a lot of times if you guys are, obviously you guys are security people here on this channel, or you aspire to be, most likely you already know. But if you're a beginner, it definitely can be a little bit misleading. So I'm going to dispel that myth in this video. What's up, guys? This is Ryan from elevatecyber. We're just going to break down the term. What does it mean when you look at an article, or maybe you listen to a podcast and they say like, this software has been hacked or this server has been hacked. What does that actually mean? So that can mean a number of things. It's actually a very ambiguous term because it doesn't really tell you the extent of what happened or the severity of what happened, right? Hacking can be many things, and this probably will throw off a lot of people that are not in the security space, because a lot of people that are outside of this corner of the internet, when they hear hacked, they picture, like in the movies, Hollywood style, like a bunch of binary on a monitor, like ones and zeros, and a guy just with a hoodie on, just like cranking away, like doing some like crazy typing up some like crazy exploit code, and maybe even some non-realistic stuff. Like it's just like ultra technical, ultra extreme kind of like binary type of exploitation going on. But by no means is that a prerequisite or requirement for anything, right? Hacking can be as simple as, installing a keylogger on someone's computer, right? It could be as simple as using social engineering and tricking them into giving away your password to them, right? Maybe you create a fake website that you send a link to in an email to them, and they click on that fake website, but it looks like a website that they are familiar with and are a member of, and they try to go into the login portal and type in their login credentials, and now you have their login credentials. Well, effectively, you've hacked them, right? And there wasn't any crazy exploit done there, right? Now, as you learn security, you'll find there's so many different vulnerabilities out there, right? You have vulnerabilities that are your flashy, remote code execution, most certainly. And that is definitely, I would say, the most severe case if you get a RCE, a remote code execution vulnerability. But there's also a lot of kind of less severe vulnerabilities that exist out there, right? There's your, for example, XXE can lead to file disclosure, like information disclosure of being able to read files on the file system, sensitive files. In some cases, being able to execute files. Hopefully, you don't have any file upload where they can upload, like say PHP scripts and then execute them with the XXE. But you have different classes of vulnerability. Some of them just allow you to read different information, sensitive data, maybe password file configuration files with passwords in them, stuff like that. And then you have like SQL injection type of vulnerabilities where you're actually able to inject into the database, maybe even get a shell off of that and code execution off of that. Point being is, you have a lot of different vulnerabilities, and they're not all created equal. Sometimes you can chain vulnerabilities together to be more severe, like I was kind of mentioning or alluding to earlier. But sometimes you'll just have a vulnerability that maybe discloses some sensitive information, and that's about it. It doesn't allow the attacker to necessarily get code execution on the server, or maybe have a vulnerability where certain things are leaked, but they don't have everyone's username and password, and they don't dump the database, right? They don't get access to all the information on the database. So you really have to read further into it. When you see something's hacked, your first gut reaction might be to panic and think it's the end of the world, but you gotta kind of read the fine print and see what it actually means. It's a case by case basis, right? If you hear something fell victim to a remote code execution attack, then kind of assume the hackers have keys to the kingdom, if you will. And even then, you don't know how much access they have, right? Unless they say in the article explicitly what was stolen, right? Because, again, the security people will know that you can get a shell on a system and still not be able to do very much on the system if it's a very low-level account and the operating system is securely, administered, securely configured by the server administrators, and there's no privilege escalation possible on the system. Now, they might just use that as a pivot point. They might, proxy traffic through that server to scan, like, say, the internal network if it's a dual NIC system, right? If it's like a sort of gateway between the external internet and their internal corporate network, you can always use it as a proxy to scan the internal network and then pivot from there. Pivoting is a whole nother thing. And a lot of these sophisticated attacks, SolarWinds and stuff like that, you bet they involve pivoting. So there's a lot that you would have to read into the fine print to really understand the severity of what's going on. What does it mean? And, in some cases, they might get access to the database. Well, now they have your username and your password, or your email address and your password. The first thing an attacker that is going to utilize that information would try is, okay, let's see what else I can log into with this. Let's see if I can log into his email address with this password, right? Or maybe he has some account on this site or that site, and I could try it with this password. So if you're reusing passwords, in that case, it's it could be quite detrimental for you. But that's pretty much what I wanted to go over on that topic. If you are interested in, really keeping up with what's going on in the space and security, definitely check out my series on This Week in Security, or my most recent video on that, I should say, right here. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and hit the like button as well to help get the message out there to some people that might be confused with what does it mean when something is hacked or breached or whatever, right? So I will see you right over in This Week in Security. Later.